Hello to all my fellow farmers and gardeners out there. Welcome back to another Nature's Always Right episode. Today we're going to be pruning the cucumbers. So I'll be showing you what the suckers look like, how to take off the leaves that are dead and dying, and just kind of how to analyze the cucumber to keep it in the best health possible. So for planting the cucumbers, you do remove suckers on cucumbers to increase production, but when they're young like this, they don't really have any sucker production yet, but you can see them starting. Cucumbers also produce suckers in the crotch of the plant, just like a tomato does. Once these grow bigger, I'll show how to prune them. And cucumbers, they have a pretty similar structure to tomatoes, but they are different. But they are similar in the fact that they have suckers that also grow out of the crotch, but they are easier to identify, less tricky, and I think a little bit more fun to train. So let's take a look at this guy. So once again, we're going to start at the bottom. So here's all the beginning of the plant that we've removed. And as we come up, you can see some different things going on here. So these are on a cucumber, these are the sun leaves. And at every node, let me show you a real good node here. So a node is a place where another branch is connected or a fruit. So at this node, we have all the structures here. So let's identify the structures. Okay, so we've got main stem. The main stem continues up this way. We have our fruit, right? There's the cucumber. This is our sun leaf. And this, as you might have guessed, is the sucker. This is a part of the cucumber plant that will continue to grow, and it has the ability to produce flowers and fruit. But we are training to a single leader. So we don't want to split our energy. We want the energy to travel straight up the single stem and keep producing fruit. So here's the beginning of a cucumber if you guys have never seen it. They start out like that, the flower opens and it is pollinated. If it's not pollinated or there's bad pollination, sometimes the fruit can rot and fall off. Some people confuse that with blossom end rot. Oh, and the other structure I didn't mention is the tendril. That's the other thing you'll see at a node. And the tendril, of course, reaches out to grab onto things to help support itself. So here we've got all the structures. We've got main stem, tendril, sun leaf, fruit, and a lot of the time on the cucumbers, you're removing suckers that are small, actually. That little leaf right there coming out of the center, that's a sucker, what will become the sucker. So you can actually remove that real carefully. Just kind of put your finger in there and rub it, and then it'll pop off. And now it's gone. So isn't this a lot easier than the tomatoes? So much easier to identify. Okay, the sun leaf is always going to be gigantic. The sucker, as long as you're pruning them every week, they're always going to be like small, like this, or a little bigger. But sometimes you'll miss one, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Okay, we got main stem, sun leaf, fruit. Okay, the only other leaf that isn't the sun leaf or the fruit, it's going to be a sucker, always. Okay, and that's kind of a rule you can live by. On the cucumbers, there's not weird stuff going on that happens. So let me try to find a large sucker. So unfortunately, I don't have an example of a super big long one, but here's an okay big one. Okay, so let's look at the structure. We got main stem, we have a fruit, and this fruit looks like it might have not gotten pollinated. It's starting to kind of rot a little bit. Okay, then we've got sun leaf, fruit, tendril. The only other leaf is the sucker. So the main difference, right? The sucker has, just like on a tomato, it's got a sun leaf and then the new leader growth point. Okay, so that's gonna be on it. The sun leaf, it's just the sun leaf. It'll never have anything else on it. It will always look like this. The cucumbers are much more consistent to prune. Okay, so let's pop that guy off. Here's another one. So just to identify one more time. Sun leaf, fruit, main stem, tendril. There it is. Okay, then the last step here, I just want to show you guys is how I think about removing leaves on the cucumber. And so a lot of times the cucumber will put off its extra suckers lower on the branch, the stem here. So go down and make sure that they're all gone. Sometimes it'll put them on the plant, places that you've already removed them. So go through the whole plant. Remove any dead or dying leaves. Any leaves that are blocking sunlight, any leaves that are touching the ground, any leaves that are touching other plants, it's better just to remove them. We just pruned these the other day, so I don't really need to remove anything on these. Okay, so here's a plant that I left to train to show you guys. So here, I'm going to remove a bunch of these leaves because they're not really helping too much. They're not getting much sun. And they're low to the ground. They're blocking sunlight to my basil plant. And there's a lot more forward growth on this plant as well. So it's time, we can just get rid of it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just removing all the leaves up to the next set of fruit usually. If there's any more dead or gross ones, I'd get them out of there.